Yeah, about an hour ago, I had a report that the Saudis were moving into Khafji. They had taken about, they really hadn't taken, they had moved into about 1/3 of the city, and they had encountered some fire, and as a result of encountering that fire, they were bringing up some more forces. But the Saudis are in the process of moving back into Khafji. As far as the U.S. forces are concerned, the casualty reports are the same as I gave last night. And that's, we had 12 killed in action and 2 wounded in action. That's the latest I have on that.
There are early reports that the Saudis are taking heavy casualties in that action. Can you confirm that for us?
No, I've only heard of 1 Saudi killed in action to date, and there were no reports of heavy casualties. I did hear some vehicles that had their wheels shot out, but nothing more than that.
General, as we all know, Khafji is a deserted city. It has no military significance. It doesn't seem the Iraqis here were interested in gaining and holding ground. How do you read Saddam Hussein's intentions?
I'm not even sure that it was a Saddam Hussein action, although it may have been. I think that the attack against the Marines was a preemptive attack because the Marines had such great success with their artillery raids the 3 nights prior to that, and they probably decided to do something about that. If in fact it was a Saddam Hussein directed attack on Khafji, I think it was probably more for propaganda value than anything else.
Political value being one thing, what effect do you think the limited success, very limited success of the Iraqi incursion has had on the confidence of the ground troops at your command?
Well, it hadn't affected it one iota. As a matter of fact, you know, the Marines inflicted very heavy losses on them with very light casualties, relatively speaking, on their part. So if anything, it probably bolstered their confidence that they're able to handle whatever's thrown at them.
Let's bring in our Pentagon correspondent, who you know quite well, Katie Kirk, down at the Pentagon. Katie, good morning to you.
Good morning, Brian. Good morning, General Schwarzkopf. If we have air supremacy, as we claim, why didn't we spot those Iraqi tanks massing on the border and engage them before they penetrated into Saudi Arabia?
Well, we did stop an awful lot of them. We had attacked the convoy the day before and inflicted a great deal of damage on that. Most of the day yesterday, we pounded those tanks. And again, last night, all night long, quite frankly, we pounded them. I think I said last night that we were expecting an attack based upon the disposition of the forces, and that attack never came, and I would say that probably one of the reasons is because of the damage that we probably inflicted by the air.
Do you think, General Schwarzkopf, that we unnecessarily egged the Iraqi troops on by these 3 consecutive nights of artillery raids and took unnecessary risks?
No, I certainly wouldn't say that. You know, it's been sort of an escalating situation up there. We've sort of facetiously called one fellow Abdul the Rocketeer because on the very first night, one fellow came down the road on the Iraqi side with his rocket launcher and launched a few rockets over on the Marines. The Marines shot back at him. The next night he came back again with a few more of his fellows and lobbed some things over there, and the Marines fired back. And there's been sort of this, you know, daily escalation in the artillery fire back and forth, and the Marines then, being Marines, took aggressive action to try and do something about that. So I wouldn't say it was an egging on. I just think it's a logical escalation.
General Schwarzkopf, if we continue to destabilize and demoralize the Iraqi troops by cutting supplies, by constantly bombing them, by cutting communication, why can't we wait it out? Why launch a ground war at all?
I think, you know, time is definitely on our side, but I don't think, you know, we can wait it out indefinitely. You got to remember that every day we continue to get reports of terrible things happening in Kuwait. There's a limit, a finite limit to the amount of ammunition and that sort of thing that we have available to us. Obviously, you know, I tell you, we have plenty. We have plenty, and we could conduct this for quite some time, but not endlessly. And so these are all factors that both the political and the military, I think, that are going to be considered when the president makes a decision as to whether or not we should launch a ground campaign. And what we're doing is we want to get this thing over with quickly. Frankly, none of the forces over here, including me, want to stay over here forever. If we can get back home, the sooner the better.
Can you envision a scenario where the air campaign is so successful that Arab forces, not U.S. forces, actually go in, mop up, and retake Kuwait?
I'd say that's probably unlikely, although Arab forces will certainly play a major role in any ground offensive that we undertake.
General Schwarzkopf, as you know, Saddam Hussein has promised to use weapons commensurate with the amount of force used against him. If he moves beyond conventional weapons, will you?
Well, that's not my decision, Mr. Gumbel. You know, that decision is a decision that rests with the National Command Authority, the President of the United States, Secretary of Defense. I think that they have already stated that if Saddam Hussein chooses to use weapons of mass destruction, then the rules of this campaign will probably change, and I think that that's as it should be. But beyond that, I don't think I could say anything.
General, Senator Dole has suggested that if and when we start taking casualties, we perhaps begin rethinking our targeting of Iraqi cities. Are you prepared to rule out targeting civilian areas, perhaps as a means of pressuring Saddam Hussein?
Well, again, that's not my decision to make. As a military man, I don't think that I would make that recommendation, certainly not at the present time, I think it's very important that whatever military actions we take, they be things that will contribute to the outcome of the battle, and not something that we're doing just as a weapon of terror or mass destruction. Americans have never done business that way. You think back to the old Western movies. You know, the guys in the black hats, they do stuff like that. The guys in the white hats don't do things like that, and I like to think of us as the guys in the white hats.
General Schwarzkopf, you were quite impassioned yesterday about the Iraqi treatment of Allied POWs, their failure to follow the Geneva Conventions. Do you feel utterly helpless in this case?
No, I don't. I certainly don't feel helpless, Katie. I just have a gut reaction to anybody that would take someone in that who is so helpless as a POW is, and then go ahead and exploit them by making them a human shield, or beating them up, or intimidating to the point that they have to appear before television. You know, we signed this agreement in good faith. We abide by it. The Red Cross has been out there and checked us out. The Red Cross has interviewed all of the Iraqi prisoners that we have separately, without us being around. We're completely open about the way we treat them. And I guess it's just, it's the way one human being is supposed to treat another human being, and that's why I resent it so terribly. When our POWs are exploited, they're helpless people, and to do something like that to them, I just have a gut reaction against it.
On another personal note, we saw General Powell beaming when his wife Alma was introduced by the president during his State of the Union address. How did you feel when the president introduced Brenda Schwarzkopf?
I was very proud of her. As I said, anybody that puts up with me for 23 years deserves all the applause they can get. But more importantly, I was proud of what Brenda was representing, and that's the literally 500 million military families who have suffered a lot, and are going to continue to suffer a lot simply because they've chosen to love a soldier, sailor, airman, marine, or Coast Guardsman, and that's a pretty wonderful bunch of people, and I was proud that my wife had an opportunity to represent them.
General, as a final question, I note that your West Point colleague, General Leroy Sudduth, was quoted as saying that you always felt you would lead a great army in a significant battle. Is that battle being realized now, or is it yet to come?
Leroy's a great friend. I don't really know where he got that from. I think that, we all used to, as young men, we all used to sit around and fantasize, probably, particularly when we were studying the history of military art and that sort of thing. But I really have never thought of myself as one day leading great armies into great battles. I think that we're in a great battle right now. I think it's a historic thing, and there's a long campaign plan out there. It's not long in time, but long in length, and it's unfolding. And frankly, I would be very satisfied if it was over tomorrow, as long as we accomplished the objectives that we set out to accomplish. So I have no great ambitions to lead a wonderful military battle. What I want to do is get the job done and get home and save as many American lives as I can in the process.
General Schwarzkopf, thank you very much for making some time for us. Good luck to you, sir.
Thank you.